In this video, we'll be building a live streaming app using React.js. User can enter their username and the room ID. The app features two buttons, create and join. If a user clicks create, they will become the host for that room. If a user clicks join, they will enter the room as an audience. Let's create a room by pressing the create button. Upon creating the room, an invitation link will be generated, which can be shared with the audience, allowing them to join the stream. The host can toggle audio and video. They can share their screen. The host has the ability to start the live stream. Audience can join using the invitation link or by entering the room ID and clicking the join button. I'll paste the invitation link that I copied earlier and join the room. Let's join another user from the UI. We can send text messages. Audience can leave and rejoin the room. We can display our branding logo. The host has the ability to end the broadcast. So without a further ado, let's dive in and see how we can build this app step by step. Let's start by creating a React project. Open your VS Code and in your terminal type npm create with at latest. I have already opened my VS Code inside a folder, so I'll put period at the end. Press enter. Press enter. Select React. Select JavaScript. Now let's install the dependencies with npm install. Let's do some cleanup. Open source folder. Open app.css. Remove all of the default styles. Open app.jsx. Ctrl-Alt. Delete. Create React functional component. Open index.css. Remove all of the default styles. Let's add some styles. Padding will be 0. Margin 0. Box sizing border box. Let's run our app with npm run dev. Now let's change the font of our app. Navigate to Google Fonts. We will be using this font. Select it. Get font. Get embedded code. Copy this. Open index.html. Paste it inside head above the title. Let's change the title of our app. Midflex. Copy this. Let's define the font family inside the root. Font is changed. We'll be using React Router DOM to implement the dynamic routing in our app. So let's install it. npm install React Router DOM. npm install React Router DOM. Let's see the documentation. Docs. Click on routing. Copy this. Open main.jsx. Paste it here. Copy this. Paste it here. Now let's define the routes for our app. Copy and paste this. Let's define about route and contact route. For the index, our home page. Let's display the home component. Let's remove this app component. Remove the import. Now inside source, create a folder named components. Inside this component, create a file name home.jsx. Create React component. Import the home component. Pass the home component for the index route. Similarly, let's create a component for the about and contact page. About.jsx. Contact.jsx. Create React functional component. Let's import it here. Import contact. Import about. Pass contact inside contact route. Pass about in the about route. Let's see our app. Let's run our app first. npm run dev. Refresh the page. Let's navigate to about page. Contact page. It is working. Let's remove all of the open file. Open main.jsx. In all of our routes, we want to display header and footer component. So instead of defining the header and footer in the individual route, we can wrap this route inside a route where we can define the layout for all of our routes. For that, let's create a component. Let's call it layout.jsx. Create React functional component. In this file, we'll import header and footer, and we'll pass all of the route element in between header and footer. Let's create header and footer component. Header.jsx. Footer.jsx. Import header and footer inside layout. Import header. Import footer. Now inside empty React fragment, add header and footer component. Now import outlet from React router DOM. Let's pass the outlet inside the main tag. Let me explain the code to you. Here we have to add the layout component. So wrap all of the route inside the route. This is our root page. So mark it as index. Path will be slash. Element will be the layout component. Now when we navigate to the home route, then we'll see the header, and this outlet is replaced by the component that we have passed here. So header, home component, and footer. Similarly, when we navigate to the about route, this outlet will be replaced by about component. So we'll see header, about, and footer, and so on. This way we don't have to import header and footer inside all of the individual component of this route. Let's see it in our app. Refresh the page. We are getting some error. This should be component. Save it, refresh the page. Like I have explained earlier, we are seeing header, footer, and in between them we are seeing the contact component. Similarly, if I navigate to the about page, we are getting the about component in between header and footer. Now let's add header and footer in our app. Close all of the file. Now let's design the header of our app. On the left side, we'll add our logo. On the right side, we'll display the navigation link. And below it, we'll add a border. Open header.jsx. Create header tag. Inside header, let's add div. Inside div, let's add the image of our app. I already have my logo inside the public directory. Let's specify the path of our logo /logo.png. Logo. Class name will be logo. When the user clicks on the image, we'll navigate the user to the home page. So import link from React router DOM. Wrap this around image. Link to /. Now let's add the navigation link. Inside nav, link, home, to /. Class name will be links. Copy and paste it to about, contact, about us, contact us. Now let's add some styles. Open index.css. Let's define a wrapper class. Margin top and bottom 0, left and right auto. Max width will be 1280 pixel. Padding 0. For left and right it will be 2 rem. Add wrapper class inside the header. Wrapper. Also add the header class. Header. Display will be flex. Justify content space between. Align item center. Padding will be 0.6 rem and 2 rem for left and right. Logo height will be 2 rem. With auto. Object fit content. Now let's add hover effect on our links. Transition. all 0.2 second. Easy in out. On over. Cursor will be pointer. Color will be 4361 EE. Nav display flex. Gap will be 1 rem. Font size will be 1.3 rem. Let's see our app. This is our header right now. Let's remove the default style and add border below our header component. Header, border bottom 1 pixel, 2 pixel, solid, C2, C5, E1. Let's remove the default style for a tag. Color inherit. Text decoration none. Let's see our app. Let's navigate to about us. Contact. It is working. Let's navigate to home page. Similarly, let's create the footer component. Close all of the file. Open footer.jsx. I'll copy and paste some code. Open index.css. Display flex. Justify content space between. Margin top 1 rem. Display flex. Gap will be 1 rem. Let's define a height for our footer. Height will be 3.3 rem. Border top 2 pixel, solid. Copy and paste this. Let's see our app. This is our footer right now. Now the main section will take all of the remaining space. Right now footer is taking all of the remaining space. For that, inside main tag, let's add some class. Flex will be 1. Width will be 100%. Let's see our app. We have to make the body 100 VH. For that, body, minimum height 100 VH. Display will be flex. Flex direction column. Let's see our app. Refresh the page. Let's add this class in the root. Refresh the page. Now let's add input section in our app. For that, open home component. We'll create 2 input, one for getting the username and another for the room ID. Then we'll add 2 buttons, create and join. div label for username input type will be text, name username, id username, placeholder enter username. Let's set spelling checking to false. Copy and paste it. Room ID, enter username, enter room ID. Now let's add two buttons. Button, create, join. Let's see our app. Now let's add some style to our app. Let's first provide the wrapper class to our main tag. Open layout. In the main tag, add class name wrapper. Let's see our app. Now let's style our input and button. Open index.css. Let's add styles to button. Border radius 1 rem. Font size will be 1.2 rem. Padding top and bottom 0.5 rem. Left and right 2.4 rem. Text decoration none. Color will be 333. Border 2 pixel solid 4361 EE. Background color will be white. Transition all 0.3 second. Ease in. On hover. Color will be white. Background color will be this. Cursor pointer. Let's see our app. Now let's add some space between this button. For that, add class buttons. Also, let's fix the size of our container. Class name container. Max width will be 500 pixel. Margin top to rem. Display flex. Flex direction column. Gap will be 1 rem. Buttons. Margin top 1 rem. Display flex. Justify content. Space between. Let's see our app. Now let's style input and label field. Add class to the div that contains label and input. Let's name it input wrapper. Copy this, paste it here. display flex direction column, gap will be 3 pixel. Let's style the input field inside input wrapper. Max width will be 100%. Height 2.8 rem. Border radius 6 pixel. Padding top and bottom 0. Left and right 10 pixel. Border 2 pixel solid black. Background transparent. Outline none. Transition all 0.2 second. Is font size will be 1.2 rem. Input wrapper. When the input is focused, we'll change the color of the border. 2 pixels solid. 0A 1A D0. Input wrapper. For label, font size will be 1 rem. Let's see our app. Now let's get the input from the user. Import user state, const info, set info, user state. Initialize the info with username, empty string. Room ID will be empty string. On change, let's trigger the handle change function. Let's create this function handle change. We'll get event here, set info, spread previous info and update it with e.target.name. Assign it to e.target.value. Similarly, let's add handle change to the room ID. Copy this, paste it here. Let's console log the info. Refresh the page. Open console. We are getting the input. Now, if the user try to click on create or join button without adding the information, we'll display toast message with the missing fields. And only if the user has provided the username and room ID, we'll allow the user to create or join the room. For that, let's install react.toast. npm install react-toast. Open main.jsx. Import toaster from react.toast. Add it here. One click. Handle join. One click. handle join. Let's create that function handle join. If not info dot username dot trim dot length or not info dot room id dot trim dot length, then we will display the toast error, missing fields, return. Otherwise, we'll navigate the user to the room page, import toast from react.toast, save it. Let's try it. We have to run our app first. npm run dev. Refresh the page. Let's click on create button without adding the input. Click here, missing fields. Let's add. Click on create. Navigate to the room page. Now let's create the room route. Open main.jsx. Copy this. Paste it outside of this route. We don't want to display header and footer in our room page, so we are placing this route outside of this layout route. Path will be /room. Now let's create room component. Set component room.jsx. Import it here. Import room, pass room. Also, when the user clicks on this either of the button, we have to know the role of user. If the user clicks on this create button, that means the role of user is host. Otherwise, the role of user is audience. For that, let's pass string to indicate the role of user. When the user clicks on this create button, let's pass host. Similarly, when the user clicks on join button, we'll pass the string audience. We'll get this role here. Now let's navigate the user to the room page. Import use navigate from React router DOM. Const navigate use navigate. Navigate /room. ID will be info.room ID and username will be info.username, and let's pass the role. Role will be this role which we have passed when the user clicks on the button. Let's try it out. Refresh the page. Username will be John. Room ID 12345. Click on create. We have successfully passed the ID, username and the role. Now let's get the username, role and ID. Close this. Open room.jsx. import use search params from React router DOM, const search param, use search param, let's console log the search param, refresh the page. We are getting ID, username and role. Now let's get the username and room ID. Const username search params dot get username ID. This will be room ID. Remove this console log. Let's console log username and room ID. Username, room ID. Refresh the page. We have got the username and the room ID. We will be using ZEGOCLOUD's pre-built UI kit to implement live streaming. You can explore all of their UI kits here. Let's sign up and get 10,000 minutes for free. Fill up this form, enter your email address and click on get code. Copy and paste the code from your email, enter password and click on start your free trial. Fill this form and click on continue. Click on go to dashboard. Click on create your first project. Choose live streaming. Give any name for your project. Click on start with UIKits. Select web. We can toggle the basic configuration. Click on save and start to integrate. Copy your app ID and server secret in the root. Create a file name .env. Here let's create two environment variable with app ID, server secret. From your ZEGOCLOUD dashboard, copy and paste your app ID and server secret. I'll add mine later. To implement the live streaming, let's see the ZEGOCLOUD docs. ZEGOCLOUD live streaming kit. Click on the first link. Live streaming kit is fully featured live stream component which helps you to build custom live streaming platforms within the web and mobile app. These are the features that we get: customizable UI, live stream invitation, screen sharing, recording. You can explore all of this. Click on quick start. We'll be using npm package manager. Click here. Copy this. Open the app. Let's install it. Here is the code to implement the live streaming. However, we will be making some changes. Copy this random ID function. Paste it at the top of our component. Now let's define the role of the user. Here co-host is also implemented, but in our app we'll only be using host and audience. That means when the host has created a room, other audience can join them. We won't be implementing co-host. If you want to implement it, feel free to see the documentation. We can implement it in the similar approach. Let's define the role, const role. Let's first get the role from our search params. Search params dot get role. First, let's import Zego UIKit. Zego UIKit pre-build. If search params dot get role is equal to host, then Zego UIKit pre-build dot host. Otherwise, return Zego UIKit pre-build dot audience. Let's create random user ID, const user ID, random ID. Let's pass 5. Here, this function returns the randomly generated ID. Let's create shared link with the help of which audience can join our room. We are doing this to implement the copy paste functionality. This way, when we create the room, we'll get the room for the audience to join our room. That is, we'll get the URL for the audience with which they can join our room. Let shared links. For now, keep it an empty array. If role is triple equal to Zego UI pre-build dot host, let's push link with which audience can join our room. Shared link dot push. Let's name it shared links dot push. Name will be join as audience. Now let's add the URL with which the audience can join our room. Window dot location dot origin plus window dot location dot path name. Concat it with /id is equal to room ID and username. Let's specify enter name and role will be audience. Copy this, paste it here, copy this, paste it here. This should be closed here. Dot push name, comma URL. This should be like this. We are pushing the object of name and URL. Now let's create the token. Remove this. Const token. Zego UIKit pre-build dot generate kit token for test. This method requires app ID, server secret, room ID, user ID, and username. We have app ID and server secret in our env file. Let's pass it import dot meta dot env dot with app ID. We can access the env variable with import.meta.env and the variable name that we have defined in our env file. Also, it is better to get the app ID and server secret from the backend instead of directly placing it in the env file of React project. In this video, I am not implementing that, but it is better to get the app ID and server secret from the backend, as this value is visible even though we are placing it in .env file. App ID should be number, so parse int Similarly, let's pass the server secret. Server secret, then pass the room ID, user ID, and username. Save it. Now create instance object from the token const jp zego UIKit prebuild dot create, pass the token. In the live streaming, we can add our image of our brand. For that, we can specify the branding image. Branding, it will be an object. Let's specify the logo URL. This is my logo URL. Add comma. Let's console log the token. Let's try it. Refresh the page. We have passed the name John, so John is being displayed here. And in the shared link, we have created the URL for the audience to join. So this is the URL with which audience can join our room. Let's copy it. Click on allow. Token is created here. Click allow. Click on join. Let me turn off my camera. Now I'll paste the link that I have copied earlier. Click on enter. Let's enter the name. Let's call it Harry. Join. This is the branding logo that we have specified earlier. As you can see, we have two users right now. John has created the room and Harry is the audience.